Thank you so much for coming. I'm Kristen Baldwin from Yahoo TV, and I'm here with the fabulous Ms. Betsy Brandt.
Hi, everybody. Thank you for coming out.
So congratulations on the show's success.
Thank you.
Very quick season 2 pickup, and people are really excited about it. Tell us how this role came to you and what interested you about playing Heather.
That's a lot of questions in one short, seemingly short question. A couple things happened. I have moved my kids around, and my daughter is 11 and my son is almost 8. And as they get older, it gets harder to move them. And so I thought we were going to relocate to New York, tried a couple jobs out here, and just ended up not working out. And so we moved back to LA, and I said, okay, I think I need to try and stick around here. And I'm aware how fortunate I am to be able to have any sort of say in that. And I looked at a couple of pilots, and this was one of them. I also, the other part to that question is, I've done a lot of drama, and Breaking Bad was such a, I don't even know how to describe that show, like what it meant for me personally and to my career and to everybody who loves television. And so I thought after that, I had done some drama, but I didn't want to try and chase the next Breaking Bad because there may not be one for me or for anybody. So I said to my manager's here, where is she? There you are. Oh, hi. I said, let's do a comedy. All I've done is Michael J. Fox, and I've done some comedic plays and movies, but not really a TV show. And so I wanted to do that. And so we've focused on these 2 scripts, both comedy, both shooting in LA. This one really spoke to me more. And I had a friend of mine who's not in the business read it, and she said, yeah, you should do that one. I can hear you saying those lines. And I think more in comedy, I feel like I'll play closer to myself. Because that's just, if you want to do it long term, I just feel like that's what I wanted to do and felt like could do best. And so I sat down, and once I met with Justin Adler, I kind of professionally fell in love with him, just like I did with Vince Gilligan. And I felt like I wanted to listen to that.
Yeah. And you mentioned the Michael J. Fox show, which is criminally underrated.
Thank you for saying that. I finally saw the episodes that didn't air, and it was wonderful to see, but also frustrating because there's a lot of good stuff there that never made it out.
I would love to hear a little bit about that experience and how shooting that comedy, which was also single camera, I believe, how that compares and sort of is different from Life in Pieces.
That's a good question. It's, there's some things that are the same, but every show has its own feel because of the material, the crew, the cast, and Michael J. Fox show was so special. I mean, that show did not continue on, but I have no regrets about doing that show. And he is such a genius. He's like one of the funniest actors. And we would always laugh a ton, whether we on camera or not. And I learned a lot from him. I feel like I really watched him and learned, how to do this and keep an eye. I always, the one thing that Mike and I share is he's very funny, but he's very honest in his work. No matter what the situation is, you believe that that's actually happening. That's what I like to watch, so that's what I like to do. And then I feel like that's how you become invested, and you want to see what happens to that character for 5 seasons, or 6, or however many you can squeeze out of a network. And so that was really fun for me to do, and I felt like he and I were on the same page. I always say that Breaking Bad, and excuse my language for what I'm going to say, Breaking Bad was the little show that could, and the Michael J. Fox show is the big show that better fucking should. Because NBC was like, you're going to save our network! And that's a lot of pressure for any show. but it was an amazing experience. It was an amazing experience, and I thought pretty funny. You know, I can see some of the reasons why I didn't make it, and I can see some things that made me really wish that it would have.
Yeah. And it's all available to watch, so go out and find it. So Heather on Life in Pieces is a little high-strung. Yeah. And, of course, Marie Schrader on Breaking Bad was also, she described herself as high-strung. At least in one of her webisodes, she said her therapist described her as high-strung. I'm interested.
Yeah, but he was crazy.
Yeah.
Like crazy.
I'm interested to know if you share that trait at all, and if not, how do you channel it?
Well,
for
it's
your
funny,
performance?
because I don't see Heather as high-strung.
I mean, in the first episode of the show, she's like stuffing a sandwich into her son's pants as he goes to college because she just wants him to have the sandwich. Just take it, you know.
Yeah,
So
I love that scene.
It just seems that she really cares a lot.
Listen, she does. Oh yeah, like that's because she's a mom,
Exactly.
and she's like, no, I totally see what you're saying. I have kept saying to them the season that we're working on now in season 1 that I didn't want to play just eye-rolling wife to goofy dad, because we see that all the time, and it can be really funny. So that's why it works. But I just felt like, you know, like where can you go with that? When I do drama, you plan ahead. Like I remember in this scene, the intervention scene, which is one of my favorite scenes I've ever shot in my life. And I talked to Vince about it before we shot that, and I just want to see how you see her and where we want her to go, because ideally the decisions you make in season 1 and season 2, you get to live with years down the road. And I look at comedy the same way, and I know not every actor does that. And it's, I'm sure, a huge part due to doing so much drama. But I really try and think about, I never want to cheat the audience. I never want to assume that the audience hasn't paid attention, and so I can just do this and get a laugh in that moment, even though it's not true to my character. So I guess I am high-strung in that way. I'm meticulous about the choices that I make for them. And that said, there's a part of me that has to just throw it away and go with the gut and like live in this person. I don't have a good answer if that's what I'm drawn to, or that's what I do, or that's just what comes out of me. I don't know. Maybe my therapist needs to call them.
Well,
but they're crazy too.
Yeah, exactly. On the less meticulous side, Life in Pieces always has a really fun blooper reel, outtake reel.
A lot of it you can't see because it's just inappropriate.
It seems like there might be a lot of improvisation on the set, and is that something you were comfortable with?
Yeah, some days I'm like, guys, I'm just tired. Can you just tell me, because this is what I'm bringing to the table. But most of the time, and a lot of it you won't be able to use anyway, but we just, in no way am I saying we write the show. We have amazing writers that I really don't know how they come up with what they come up with. But we try and keep it pretty loose, because you find things, and that sure does make it fun to go to work. You know, and that there's an entire cast of other people. I work with Diane Wiest for, like, my God, like, she really is what you think she is. She's like, I tell her, I'm like, it's like no matter what's going on, it's like she's Glinda the Good Witch. She's magical, and she comes down and she goes, oh, hi, yes, and just is sweet and hilarious, and just. Everybody loves her. My kids love her. Everybody loves her. She's just wonderful. So the fact that I get to walk into that every day I go to work is just embarrassingly good. Jim Brolin said, for as wacky as he can be, he always says things that makes me cry. He said, you go into the sound stage and you don't know what's going to happen when you walk through those doors, but you know it's going to be good. And I thought, that's why I have no patience for complaining or making anybody's life miserable, because we are just very, very fortunate.
Yeah. especially when you get to eat cake with your hand, as you did in this episode, which is amazing. I want to hear everything about the cake scene. Like, was that really frosting?
That was really frosting.
How many takes was that?
We did quite a few. We had a lot of cakes, and sometimes it was just, I love Colin. Colin makes me crack up. I treat, Colin and Tommy like they're my siblings. Like if Colin and I were in the makeup trailer and we had it, like, do you want to run this? And he's like, no, I'm not ready yet. And I said, okay, I'm just going to run it myself. And then I start to run it, and he says his line, and I go, no. Sorry, I'm just trying to do it without the noise. Like, I just treat him like I have two brothers. And so it's always, but I just crack up with him so much. And we were doing this whole thing, like, yeah, get in there, really good. Oh, like that right in between the fingers. Oh, yeah, use your tongue, more tongue. And we're like, we know they can never use this, but we were just unstoppable. There was so much blue color that it wouldn't come off of my hands. And so I basically, Julie Christie, who does my makeup on the show, went online and had to look for home remedies to get the food coloring off so that otherwise I wouldn't be able to shoot the rest of the day because we'd be like, what happened to Heather? That's a different episode, Heather turning blue. But it was so much fun. We had so much fun shooting that.
Do you have any strategies for not breaking during a scene where you're supposed to, it's a particularly funny scene, but you've got to keep it together?
I got nothing. And particularly when it's, sometimes Dan and I'll get like, we're bringing it back. What I do a lot is, even though I'll be faking serious, like I'll make a joke or do something, screw around, then I go, come on, you guys, come on, let's grow up. Okay. So really, I'm just complaining to myself. I'm like, come on, seriously, guys, it's a bunch of professionals, all right? Let's stop the laughter, do the job.
Now, is this one of those shows where the writers will overhear you saying something about your real life and, work it into an actual script, or how does that work?
Yes, because I'm not a writer, I feel like, there's some people on the show, like Dan does some writing, Zoe does some writing, like they'll go in with, like, they have all these stories to pitch. I have moments in my life where I'm like, oh my God, I have to tell them about this, and then it's gone. Like I'm working, I have 2 kids at home, like we're all, doing a million jobs. And so I feel like it will come out and they're like, oh my God, we should do that. Like there's a story that is a true story, but with my daughter. It involves a goldfish. You'll see it in the upcoming season. I haven't seen the script yet, but it was one of those moments I was like, oh my God, I can't believe this is my life. And it's true. Like, things like when my son was younger, like stuff like gross mom stuff. And you're like, my celebrity lifestyle. It's just, it's very human, being a parent. And, I think it's just, someone asked me in an interview, is it hard to be an actor and a mom? And I said, well, yeah, sure, but it's hard to be anything and a mom. Everybody goes through similar struggles with, there's just not enough hours in the day, and sometimes your kids love you, sometimes they hate you, and, it's just, you feel guilty about things. It's
right, and you can never do anything 100%.
Yeah, and I'm the worst on myself, like hands down. Yeah.
So you touched on this a little earlier. You said you don't want to play the eye-rolling wife to the goofy dad. With a sitcom, how is something like character development handled? Because there isn't necessarily the time every week to get into a character's life or story.
Like when Tim does things, and I love working with Dan Bacadal, when Tim does things that I think could be an eye-rolling moment, I be sure to laugh. Because I think one of the great things I love about playing Heather is she's pretty happy. I think she's happy. She's content. She's juggling, her parents are getting older and she's got 3 kids and, her son just got married. She's, juggling a lot. But I think that she knows what she signed on for, and that's the guy she wanted. That's still the guy she wanted. She's not like, oh, Tim, come on, grow up. It's not. I think she's just like, man, babe, I love you. Thank God you are the way you are. And I love their relationship. And Dan and I have a great time playing them. Yeah.
So So it's something you sort of imagine, she's not on an arc necessarily because she's a happy person.
Yeah.
So Helen Hunt has directed Life in Pieces. Chad Lowe
God.
has directed Life in Pieces.
Yeah.
On Breaking Bad, Bryan Cranston directed an episode. From an actor's standpoint, how does the process change, or how is it different when you're being directed by a fellow actor?
Some actors make great directors, some don't. These people all do. So I think a good director is a good director. I do notice for me, watching Helen work, I think about how amazing she was in Mad About You for every single season. And I watch the choices that she makes as a director and just try and clock that, because this is a whole new thing for me too. So, there's a learning curve for me. And I'm like, okay, that's the choice you make there. That's what and because that's funny because, she's just so good, and we just love having her. But she's really phenomenal with the comedy, and she brings a great energy to it also. And Chad too, he had not directed a lot of comedy, I don't think at that point, but he was just such a great fit, and he's so funny and open, and it's also, I'll talk to him about things as an actor, like, so I'm thinking about this, that I, want to focus on this for Heather, and he's wonderful just, to go to with questions like that.
With a sitcom like this, over the course of, the week or so that you are shooting, does the script evolve at all, or is it pretty set in stone?
No, it's pretty set in stone. We do a table read, and the network and the studio are there. Sometimes they, recently we had a story for Giselle and I. She plays Sophia, adorable. And the studio and the network, but the network really thought it was just not appropriate. And I said, oh, okay, because that's exactly how I have and do talk to my kids about that subject. And so they had to do some rewriting. I liked it better before, and there's like the cable girl in me is like, oh, come on, seriously. Like, really? Really?
Yeah. Was it about drugs or sex or something?
No. It's about how babies are made.
Oh, that.
To tell your kid. I've had that talk. I was more worried about Giselle when we did the pilot, realizing that Santa doesn't exist instead of this stuff. I'm like, no, this is like, she's going to get this, but like that, I don't want to take her youth away just for a pilot. We don't even know if it's going to go.
Well, she won.
She won.
Yeah. So on Breaking Bad, the character of Marie was polarizing, to say the least.
Yeah.
And that's obviously a testament to your performance. What is it like to portray someone who fans have such an extreme reaction to and are sometimes loving to hate?
It doesn't really bother me, because, and I say that, Heather's happy, but I don't need her to, I don't want her to not make mistakes. That's another thing I really push for. I'm like, she's not perfect mom. She's far from perfect mom. I don't have any interest in being the mom who's, just always out, because I don't really know her. So I don't think it's as interesting. And I remember saying to Vince very early on in Breaking Bad, and he was really clear about how he saw Marie. And I remember when I first read for him and met with him, and he kept using the word needle. He said, she needles Skylar. She just needles her. She needles her. And that was so specific and made so much sense to me, especially, given our dialogue together in our scenes. And I said that I come from a family, there's 4 of us. I'm the youngest of 4. And I said, show me a family where like everybody's great and gets along. It's not real. And I was like, I'm happy to play the pain in the ass. And I thought it was really, really fun to do. And I also, I don't know if there's maybe more pressure on women to have their character be likable and have her not make mistakes or say anything that would piss people off, piss off fans. And I don't really want that. I don't want that for us as a group either, but yeah, I'm okay with people. And I feel like the people that didn't care for Marie, that's okay. They're not my people anyway, it's okay. But there were plenty of people that loved her. And I you sign on to do a show, you don't know where it's going to go. You don't know where the show is going to go. You don't know if it's going to go. You don't know where your character is going to go. And I was so happy with what Vince and the writers did with her. I'm extremely, I feel like I could cry. I'm extremely proud of her. And I know this makes me sound a little crazy, but I miss that fake family. I miss them all. And when people would ask me, how I wanted Breaking Bad to end, I would say, I want them all to win. Even though I know, A, it's not possible, B, if it were, it'd be really, really horrible storytelling. But that's what I wanted because I loved them all. And it got so much harder to love Walt at the end, but there was a part, I remembered who he was when we met him, who we thought he was. And I miss them. I miss Marie. I think about her and hope she's not wearing purple. And I don't. That's the only request I make on new jobs. I'm like, please don't put me in purple. Yeah, you get to be creative with your designs, but it's just the one thing I ask. It's just a different person to me.
Do fans approach you differently now that, Marie had a pretty tragic loss at the end and, obviously anybody could feel for Marie even if you weren't a fan of her character.
Well, we all loved Hank, especially on that show. I loved, even though Marie was who she was, I loved being part of that relationship because I thought it was beautiful and they were so loving to one another, so solid for one another. And to be able to play a part of that in a show where there's so much darkness, was a treat. That was a real treat for me. But usually it's women, they get that loss that she went through. I do. I will think about her sometimes and wonder, in my mind, what she's doing. I would joke with the writers, because I was a big fan of 6 Feet Under, and I said, listen, I know we're not going to shoot it, but just tell me what happens with everybody. That was the best series finale. I felt so satiated as a viewer. I felt like they honored every desire I had in wanting to know, and it was also just beautiful, and I felt like really such an homage to that show. I said, I just want it for me, for my mind. You don't even have to type it, just tell me, and I'll watch it in my movie mind.
And did they answer?
Yeah, no, I didn't get that either. That's just I really can't complain. It was an amazing show. So I can't be like, well,
So we had some questions from the audience earlier, and one is, what's the best piece of acting advice you ever got?
Usually, especially if I'm talking to someone younger, I say, mean what you say and don't be a jerk. When you're a jerk, you make us all look bad. Don't be a jerk. And you'll be better at your job if you're not. The other thing I would say is, and I have to remind myself this too, because no matter where you are in your career, we all have days where you feel like you're on top of the world and days where you're feel like you're just so frustrated or feel so bad or doubt yourself or question yourself. And you have the strength to get into this at all. You're all, SAG members, and you've already reached a certain level that some people will try to and never will. But don't forget that you've made it this far, and to enjoy the journey. And it's easier said than done, but on days that I'm able to do that, which is most days, thankfully, it's a pretty good life.
Yeah, and is it for this type of comedy, which intertwining storylines and lots of different, a lot of improv, is it a different schedule than sort of your standard 22-minute sitcom, or is it
Well, it's not multicam.
Right.
So, we start really early in the morning, and our days are not long. Like the dramas I've done, the days, except for Parenthood, the hours on that were like, we would start at like a reasonable time in the morning, and we'd be done by 5. I remember once I was shooting, and it was 7 at night, and Ray Romano said, "I don't know if you know this, but this is very late for us." And I was like, "Wow." So it just, we don't push. So even Friday, you're still starting really early, but I'm home for dinner almost every day. I've been up since like 4 something, so I don't really feel like cooking it, but I'm thankful that I get to be there.
Was there anything that you kept as a memento from the set of Breaking Bad?
Yeah. So in open house, when she goes to, open houses and steals stuff and gets in a fight with this woman and gets arrested, she stole a little pig figurine, and I have that sits on my mantle. Someone was like, "You can just ask them for it," and I said, "No. I think that it needs to be taken Marie style and be stolen." And I think that's it. And then I have some photos.
No purple sweaters or anything?
No purple. No purple. No. No purple. No. I can't. There's no purple in my house except for my daughter's bedroom because, she gets to make her own choices.
Well, thank you so much to Betsy Brandt for coming.
Oh my God, that's it?
Yeah.
Wow.
I know. In and out.
Oh, thank you all for coming. Thank you so much.
So thanks
sweet.
again. Life in Pieces premieres tomorrow.
Yeah,
or
Thursday.
Thursday, sorry. It's
Thursday.
Thursday.
Yeah.
On
it's good,
CBS,
right?
and it's
Isn't that
really
a great
funny.
episode? I'm so proud of that. So proud of it.
So I'm just going to ask if everybody can just stay in your seats for a few minutes so Betsy can get to the elevator. But thanks so much for coming, and
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thanks.